Hi, Misha here, and long time no Blackbox. Part of that was, me taking a little rest. Part of it was unintentional. I will explain in a minute. But yeah, I have a few things to catch up with you on. And luckily, nothing has been happening in the news whatsoever since we last Blackbox together, right? We're not going to talk much about that, but I want to give a channel update for this one, channel update for the Mishaco. Yes, talk about some upcoming projects, what's going on now that we're into March of 2024. Made it through February, which is objectively the worst month. I talked about that last year in a Blackbox, kind of ranking the months. Yeah, I was that bored. But yeah, February, you suck. March, much better. But first, yeah, the reason I've been away for a minute. Microphone troubles. Specifically, my previous one got a short in it. I'm not sure if it was the cat chewing it or me accidentally catching it in a zipper, but either way, at the end, it got a short, and I noticed it doing a video for this channel. Went to review the clips, and it kind of cut in and out a bit, and then I actually tested it and tried to do a Blackbox, and it completely was broken then. Luckily, last year, instead of getting another kind of expensive wired mic, I know it's going to be $80-100, there was these, I guess it's an Amazon brand or whatever on there, which is what I've been using for about a year for $29 free shipping, and so I just grabbed another one of those. In fact, I grabbed two because they offered a discount if you got two or more, and I thought if the cord gets damaged again, at least I'll have a backup stuck in the drawer. That's my thoughts. It actually turns out the mic is fine, the old one, but it was actually the adapter, the part that goes into the camera, that had been gnawed on or otherwise fractured. Honestly, as much as I use my equipment, it's almost a daily thing, and I do travel with it. It kind of gets into the stuff happens territory. But that's why my last Blackbox didn't come out, and actually a video that I recorded for this channel is so spotty in the audio that I'm just going to redo it later on. Wasn't anything major lost, and none of the Mishaco channel videos were impacted, thankfully. But yeah, I had to order another mic and be doing the Blackbox. I was going to do the last Blackbox before I left town, but that happened. Luckily, the replacement mic came right as I was leaving town, but I didn't have time to record, so I'm recording it the day I got back into town. So that's what's up. That's just what happens. It's funny, when you do videos, rarely does the visual, of course in a Blackbox, doesn't matter at all, give you trouble. It's almost always an audio thing. Whenever we've had camera issues, it ends up being audio. Oh well, such is life. Before we get into personal channel talk, I do have something on the Mishaco channel. I want to workshop it here with you guys, and then I'll workshop it on Patreon and then announce it. But I'm going to be making a new tier, a new donation thing. Doing the cabin in the cabin range. And I thought it might be fun or interesting and also helpful for us, yes, but also involving all of you guys, to have a thing where you can help build the range and kind of sponsor targets. It costs about $100 for a steel target. So if someone donated $100, that would be their target. They could pick the shape, the size, what it looks like, a top hat or whatever. And on the back, we would engrave their real name or their username, their pick, and a short message or saying or whatever they want, within character limit reasons. Obviously going to put it on the back of the target, because if you put it on the front, it's going to get by bullets over time. But engrave it on the back of the steel. That steel target should be there for years, decades, and that's the thing. Now, if you don't want to donate $100, totally get that. We also thought it would be a thing to let people share a target, maybe $20, 25, and you could have 4 or 5 people share a target and help sponsor it. In that case, probably just do like each person's name on the back, because there wouldn't really be room for each name and an inscription. So that'd probably be how that goes. So if you pick your own target. Oh, and of course the shape of the target. If people did it, we'd do a poll. Like, say these 4 people sponsored this target, those 4 people would vote on what they want it to look like. So I thought that might be engaging. Another thing I thought might be fun in the same kind of tier is if you didn't want to be on a target, we're also building a little shooting shack. Nothing fancy, just basically a metal roof, couple of shooting lanes, maybe 2 or 3, and a couple of rests. And I thought I would make a special plaque to hang there that would have names on it, things like that. And that way, that would probably be in the background of more than a few videos. Not sure how legible it would always be, but it'd be hanging in the shooting shack. Don't know how much the shack's going to take to build, but it shouldn't be too bad. Maybe $1,000. It's hard to say. But I'm going to try to use leftover scrap from the cabin project as much as possible to save that money. But no, that was kind of a new Patreon sponsoring tier thing I thought might be helpful to us and engage with the community more. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Please, and I mean this in all sincerity, realistic criticism or suggestions extremely welcome in the comments. And related to that, the cabin project. So did an update about a month ago now, I guess, looking at the cabin. The walls were up, at least the outside walls, the inside framing. And I've been out there, I guess, twice since then. And we're coming along. I'll do a cabin project 4 video soon. I'll talk more about it, but there's not going to be a whole lot new to see. The deck is essentially done now. But mostly what we did is we started picking the major stuff out. Digging for the septic tank, digging for the well should be starting soon. We think we might have found a good HVAC unit, things like that. And then we started picking like windows and doors to install. So mostly it was picking stuff out. But with the big outside stuff done, hopefully the inside stuff should kind of go quickly. Once we get it completely enclosed and all that, we're going to focus on the bathroom first, because in the bedrooms, well, we can always deal with that later. As far as beds, we can always bring camp beds or sleeping bags for a couple of weeks if we need to, put flooring down and all that. And kind of the same goes for the kitchen. If we just have to make the kitchen essentially a sink and a hot plate and a microwave and maybe a fridge eventually too, we're going to add to it. But I want to get the bathroom up and running because everything else can kind of be worked around. But man, when you got to go, you got to go. And also when you're outdoors, especially come summer, maybe that's just me, but man, I need a shower. I need to wash the bug spray off, the sweat off. I need to inspect myself for bugs. That's my one thing. You give me a shower at least once a day, I'm happy as a camper. But I can't go for 4 or 5 days and not shower. It's just me. I just feel too grody. So get me a shower and a toilet going. We're awesome. So that's kind of where we're going. I'll do, like I said, a cabin project for very soon. As far as other videos planning for this personal channel, I've got some going. Some more NECA figures. Gonna finish up the McFarlane Doom Marine thing I started. Been doing on and off. Maybe a couple more NASA things. I do have some model planes I need to get kind of put together out of the box. I just hadn't had time to unbox them and do it. So that's a little bit down the road. I don't know why, but planes tend to be more of a summer thing for me anyway. But I just can't afford too many with the current prices. I'm sorry. There has to be something I really want. And that's kind of where I'm at too with the whole cabin thing, is my money's going there. I just don't feel like I'm in a position to spend much on things that I don't need right now. Later, sure. I'm not going to be a boring person, but for right now, if I have an extra $100, it's better spent putting it towards something the cabin needs, because I'll need to buy stuff like that. So it all kind of comes back to that. I don't want to be boring. I know people, when they get a project in their mind, that's all they talk about, and I'm trying really hard not to. But guys, last year, if you listened to my Blackbox, I can't say I was depressed, but I was kind of looking for something, needing something to look forward to, needing something to focus on, this is what this is giving me. My spirit, my mental state has been so much better since I started this project, because not only is it giving me something, to picking the fixtures. My builder's really good about asking really detailed questions, putting things exactly where I want them, light switches, things like that, because I need lights. I jokingly said no lights, we'll just leave a basket of headlamps at the door and everyone can just put a headlamp on. But apparently you're not supposed to do that. Apparently you need lights in a house. I don't know why. But anyway, so it's been a little more hands-on, because you can't just show me over the email or whatever, but it's also fun. I do like designing, building things, and it gives me something to look forward to. Hey, when the cabin is done, go out there. I'm even making a special place for my cat, Peanut. You remember Peanut. If you don't, shame on you. She's the wonderful tripod cat that we've had for years. But she does not like it when I leave town, and now she won't have to leave me. I will take her with me, and she can stay out there at the cabin with me, and she'll be happy. But anywho, that's just kind of where we're at. But I do have several things here. Like I said, I even recorded a video, and then I noticed the camera, the audio was... So luckily I didn't publish that before checking, but I do have some things. I think that was a Star Wars video. Not much new on the Star Trek front. Do have a couple of Stargate things to show you and talk about those, so that's cool. This is the personal channel. I just kind of do my deal. Oh, and those pocket pistols I posted here last week. That's going to be fun. Going through them, since I had to leave town right after getting them. I haven't had much time, but I'm already going to do a video, I know, on the Webley pocket guns, because I find those particularly interesting, and there were 3 of them in there. Well, 2 Webleys and an H&R copy. And there's a South African in there that should be interesting. There's a couple of CZs, a couple of Mausers. So even though they probably will get like 2 views, I think it'll be fun to do pocket pistol videos. And there's enough guns there that I can do probably a dozen videos over this year on the main Mishaco channel about them. And who knows, some people should find them interesting. I mean, they're here, so why not feature them, correct? So, looking forward to things. It's starting to get warm here. It's actually really warm today, but it'll cool off as we're early March. But it got into the upper 70s, even low 80s. And I apologize for my voice if it's a bit off. My allergies are killing me because of the weather. Because it was 20 degrees earlier this week, and now it's 80. And I feel terrible. In fact, I thought about doing a live stream on Mishaco tonight, but I don't know if I can talk that long, and people don't want to hear me snort and sniffle and hack phlegm. When I do a Blackbox like this, if I feel it coming or a sneeze or something, I can pause the video. See, works out great. You didn't have to hear that stuff, because no one wants to hear that, right? And if you do, you're weird. You're sick. Gross. No. I love my wife. I still don't like hearing her sniff and snort, whirl and quirt. There we go. But what else? Oh, there is one thing. I can't remember if I mentioned it on a Blackbox, but I know I mentioned it on the Blackbox that the recording didn't work. I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but a little bit of bad news from January. We had a cold snap of about 2 weeks with pretty bad ice and snow up here in the mountains. And for at least a week, you really couldn't drive. Well, one of our cats got sick and passed away. She'd had congenital problems since she was born. She was a runt of her litter, and she had been either abandoned by her mother, or maybe her mother was killed really young, so she just was kind of scrawny and malnourished. And, she's had issues, but she got really sick during the cold, and we did our best for her, but it didn't work. Apparently she had hyperthyroidism, which there really wasn't a cure aside from like major surgery, which they said they had to keep her in the hospital for 6 weeks, and she'd have to go for 6-month checkups ever after that, or special food that only she could eat, other cats couldn't eat, and she couldn't eat other cats' foods. Things that if she was an only cat, would work, but when you have others, and let's be honest, her treatment would have cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. And if we did it for her, we'd have to do it for all of the cats, and that's a year's income. I mean, we try to be good cat guardians and owners, but there's a limit, and there's also a quality of life. And she wasn't young, she wasn't old, she was like 8 or 9, but considering that she probably shouldn't even made it past kittenhood, we did our best. We were there and did what we could, but we couldn't really get her out to the vets because of this horrible weather. She had to pick that. Another one of our cats years ago picked New Year's Eve to get deathly ill. Luckily, it was snowy, but not so snowy he couldn't drive. So a friend with a four-wheel drive took him to the 24-hour clinic, and it was touch and go. This was years ago again with him, but he actually pulled through and is still kicking today. He's over 10 now, so it's just, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But when it's a genetic thing, it's hard to fight that. It really, really is. So that happened. It's over a month ago now, because it was in late January. But can't remember if I told you. But all the other gatos are fine. And yeah, as far as what's in the news, I'll be honest. I mean, I haven't completely ignored it, but I'm kind of over really caring much. Everything is so agenda driven, and I don't care. And then you have to go in and do fact checks, and then you have to fact check the fact check. I don't know. And I've got enough going on personal life. That said, the Tucker Carlson Putin interview was a moment special for me. Maybe I'll do a full video on it, but even his shopping experience in Russia. Again, as I've said in many videos, I am not an expert on Russia. However, I've lived and I've shopped in Russia. Not as a vacation, but being there. So probably have more first-hand experience than 9 out of 10 people you'll meet in America. And so what his reactions were and what he saw and did was quite funny. By the way, the supermarket he was in that video was actually not a Russian-owned chain. It was actually a French-owned chain, although they have outlets and they operate in Russia. And they I don't know if they're franchises or if they're owned by a central headquarters in France. I don't know. I could look, but I don't really care that much. But I just wanted to mention that wasn't, I guess, 100%. It'd be like kind of going to Aldi's in America. It's an American store, but that didn't really start off as an American chain, if that makes sense. But that was funny. I don't know. It is what it is. But another thing about talking news now, and this goes both sides, the left and the right. Everyone's so entrenched in their own preconceived positions that you're not going to sway anyone anymore. So what's the point of talking about it? And you should know me by now. I don't like fighting. It's not my deal. I will argue with someone for sure, but it's not something I enjoy doing. Like, some people look for an argument, look for a debate. I do actually like debates, but friendly ones where it's really just literally in good fun. J-Ro and I do that all the time, and one of us will take devil's advocate. I mean, on the internet, though, if you try doing that, people think you're serious. That's even happened to me on this channel. I'll kind of play devil's advocate on something just to point out the other side, because that's how trials work in court. Do you think every defense attorney actually believes his client's innocent or believes they should be free? No, but everyone has a right to a defense, and that's kind of how I feel about debating. And used to, people more or less understood that. Now they think it's a fundamental, it's a moral thing. It can be, but it can also just be, hey, we have differing opinions. That's okay. Neither one of us is right or wrong. Differing opinions. I mean, I love guns and support the Second Amendment, the 2A, but if someone, say, was a survivor of a school shooting or something, I wouldn't go flashing a gun in their face if they asked me not to. I remember some people I used to work with, They knew I had guns. I wasn't going to hide that. They weren't personally comfortable with them, so out of respect, I didn't have them out when they came over to my place. It was just a respect for someone. We disagreed on guns, but I can respect their right, and they respected mine. They never once said, you shouldn't have those, and I never once said, here, hold this thing that you don't like. I think a lot of it's born of fear. But if you've been in a traumatic situation, look how many people are afraid of dogs who were bit by dogs when they were a kid. Kind of the same thing. Would you insist someone who was afraid of a dog come pet your big Rottweiler? Now, don't get me wrong, most Rottweilers I met are big old puppies, but I get it. When you're a kid, those things traumatize you. So if you were a kid and you had a negative experience with a gun, yeah. In fact, for me, it was a negative experience with a dead animal corpse, and I actually have a phobia of specifically animal corpses. Human corpses don't gross me out as much, but animal corpses give me the heebie-jeebies, and that's because of something that happened to me when I was literally 4 years old. That's how life works. Anyway, back to the thing, devil's advocate debating. And I certainly want to do that, because one thing, I'm not going to change anyone's mind. Probably, unfortunately. And for another, my opinions are pretty darn nuanced, and they could change. And that kind of leads into, I guess, one of my final points. And, of course, this is, yet again, an election year. And I've been interested in elections since I was a kid. The first one I remember really getting interested in was 1988. That would be, the one that George Bush, the older, won against Dukakis. I remember getting interested in that. That was the tank one. Remember Dukakis in the tank? Yeah. And then, of course, 92 was Bill Clinton, being from Arkansas and being someone I'd actually met, or at least shook hands with, but in our place. That was pretty neat to me. Republican, Democrat. Keep in mind, too, in the late 80s, early 90s, these weren't the same Republicans and Democrats we have today. So, I'm not ashamed to say that I was kind of taken with that whole thing. Of course, in 92, a lot of stuff hadn't come out about the Clintons that we know today. Take it as it is. In 2000, the Bush thing. By that point, I was into college a good bit and had a lot of mixed feelings about both candidates. But my point is, it was still kind of fun and enjoyable, and you could debate the other side about the candidate, and it didn't feel personal. I knew so many Democrats that respected, even liked Ronald Reagan, and I knew so many Republicans that respected or liked Bill Clinton. And I think his little oopsie in 1998 with the blue dress, actually, in some weird way, I remember the truckers around town really started calling him Slick Willie, and then when he's tried to apologize, they kept saying, oh, now he's Sweet William, but it was all in good fun. Even with George W. Bush, there were some people that really didn't like him. I had a friend that wore an impeach hat. I was rather embarrassed by the friend, not the president. And again, I didn't necessarily agree with everything George did, but this is a tough position. You do your best, whatever. But even then, I don't remember the Democrats with vitriol at George Bush. I think about as bad as it got was like the cartoon Little Bush. Remember that? That was a thing that happened. No, I'd say this kind of started with Obama. I think that's when the tides of politics really got to be harsh. Again, on both sides. And it's just gotten more and more extreme. And just more and more. I mean, you've got people that have literally cut off not only friends, but family over political disagreements. That's stupid. Family is next door to you. Family and friends are your community. What some a-hole in Washington, D.C. does or says, look, the truth is we don't know these people. We don't. We see them making speeches. So what? We don't know what they're like behind closed doors. I would never presume to know what someone's really like based on a pre-prepared, sometimes even edited speech. You know how it is. I'm sure you guys have family members that when the cameras are on, maybe they're a salesman. You know, they got their salesman thing. And that's all politicians are. That's their salesman face. Why lose friends and family over a salesman in Washington, D.C. who probably doesn't care about you? Again, I mean this for, yes, Donald Trump, and I mean this for, yes, Joe Biden. Well, for one reason Joe Biden wouldn't care about you is he probably would forget about you completely. He's doing good to remember himself. And, yeah, Trump is Trump. Say what you will, but that man has an ego larger than the U.S. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think even Trump supporters would agree, man enjoys himself. But I wanted to say, and I know it won't matter. I know only a couple of 100 people might even hear me say this, but if it even helps one person, it's worth it. Let's dial it back this year. Let's not let go to extreme. Let's not get into honest-to-God fights over this. Let's not lose what's important, because our community is what's important. In D.C., what they do there is what they're going to do. We can't really impact it. Not me, not you anyway. But we can impact our community. How we treat our neighbors. Think about it. If someone's in a bad mood, it spreads. But then again, if someone's in a good mood, it can spread too. And it's fine to have a friendly debate. But if it's getting hot, just go, let's not talk about this, or agree to disagree, or something to that effect. That's all I'm saying and asking is, let's keep perspective and realize that nothing's black and white. All shades of gray, folks. And a lot can happen between now and November. And I don't know. Again, though, kind of as I mentioned earlier with the news, what's really going on? Each side's going to edit and twist. Because guess what? Yes, MSNBC is selling ad space, but so is Fox. They're both delivering a product that people want. And at the same time, people have gotten to the point they don't tune into the news anymore to objectively hear what happened. They tune in to have their preconceived notions, their biases, reaffirmed. We see it. I mean, look how much shit happened when they hosted Trump on that town hall. And look how much crap happened when Fox announced that Trump lost the election. So you see both sides canceling their own news when they don't hear what they want to hear. Just because someone delivers you a piece of news you don't like, the old saying holds true thousands of years later since it was coined: don't shoot the messenger. Otherwise, you're going to get a messenger that's afraid to tell you the truth. And then you're not going to have accurate information, and then you won't be able to make informed decisions. So I would say, when you hear a news story, if it really does impact you, if it really does concern you, research it. Look into it. But don't just look into it with your side. If you're a Democrat, don't just listen to what MSNBC or CNN says. Go to the other side. See what The Wire, see what Fox says, and vice versa. If you're a Republican, don't just stick yourselves in that one side. Don't think the other side's just fake news. Fake news does not mean news that you don't want to hear, or a news with an opinion. There is fake news, don't get me wrong, but it's usually more like the Inquirer. The truth is, Fox and CNN and all that, they usually have a story that's based in fact. At least it starts off that way. It's the editorializing that gets more and more bleh. Fake news is shit like I used to read as a kid in the Inquirer, or you'd see over in England with the Daily Mail. That's true fake news. Or anything that comes out of Russia these days. One day we should do a video on Russian propaganda, because good God, Russia has been the masters of propaganda since the time of the Tsars. And that's carried right on through communism and into today. And they are brilliantly good at it. And again, America has propaganda. World War II was filled with propaganda. Propaganda is not necessarily negative, although in Russia's case these days it is. But it's just propaganda. It's a tool that government politicians have used forever. But at least recognize when you're consuming propaganda. Doesn't mean it has no value. Just recognize what it is for what it is and the source you're getting it from. But yeah, if you're going to tune into a news story and if it seems so outrageous or whatever, don't just accept it at face value. And that's, again, why it's exhausting today. And obviously, this goes without saying, but I have more and more friends that do this. Don't just go off the headline or the synopsis at the very top. If you're going to read an article, especially if it's a study of any kind, read the whole thing. Especially the conclusions, the full conclusions at the bottom, because data manipulation is real. And both sides are grossly capable of doing it. So that's all I care about, is people being informed. I think when people are truly informed, then they can make a decision that's right for them and right for their community. But so often politicians mislead people into doing things that are actually against their own self-interest. Like, for example, on the left, telling people that another gun ban is going to make their kids safer. That's not going to work. It's just not. Not what they're proposing. Not the kind of gun bans they propose. I don't know, guys. I just don't think politics are worth fighting over. There are things worth fighting over. Absolutely. My friends, my family, I'll fight tooth and nail to help as much as I can and defend. I just don't care about a politician thousands of miles away that much, because I know they're all kind of big ego guys. It takes a certain level of narcissism to even be in high-level politics. So, yeah, I'm just not doing that. But, yeah, take time, look into things. Don't be afraid to go to the dark side and look what MSNBC, or if you're on that side, what Fox is saying. Compare and contrast. Try to suss out the truth. Try to first find out the facts of this is what happened. Because if both sides say this is, the same thing, if they agree, then you can be pretty assured that's what happened. But then what you'll do is you'll look, and they'll start off at the same place, but then they'll have wildly different accounts of how it ended. And then you need to see, well, which one is the truth? Because they can't both be the truth. Where does that lie? Or you could spend time with your family. You could spend time doing YouTube channels. You could spend time outdoors hiking, shooting guns in my case, playing with my cats, whatever. Most of the time that's what I choose to do. Not always. Sometimes I will get engaged in a story. But for me, my nature, little ADHD, little OCD, I end up diving in for a couple of hours on a story. Yeah, 2020, 2021, guys, was horrible. People fighting people, accusations flying around. It was scary. I hope we don't go there again. I really just don't. I care too much about this country, the people, you. We don't need that, because we have real problems we need to be dealing with. I mean, the border's obvious, but the economy, U.S. business, employment, these are real super issues. And whether you like Putin or not, Russia is an issue for America. Because Russia, China are about the only nations on this planet right now themselves that can do things to America or manipulate America. That's real stuff. I'm not saying I have answers. I'm just saying if you want to focus on things, but then you see all these kind of smokescreen stories that people get all worked up about that just don't matter. They just don't. It's clickbait. It's rage bait. And it's usually not the truth. Anywho, that's about what I got. Like I said, sorry the mic broke. Sorry it's been a couple of weeks, I guess, since I done a Blackbox. But time, I've been busy. What have you been up to? I'm looking forward to the spring. Looking forward to the eclipse in April. Got a big kind of camp out with kind of extended family planned. That should be a lot of fun. And hopefully before Memorial Day, definitely hopefully before 4th of July, the cabin will be complete and filled up. And I'll be able to do black boxes out there. Although I was thinking, since it is out in the mountains, maybe instead of black boxes, I can point the camera towards the river, the creek, the mountain, and let you guys look at that while I'm talking. How about that? Because I will have good internet out there. Believe it or not, the internet's quite good out there. So, yeah. I'm optimistic about the future. And I guess, yeah, the election's kind of my only dark spot for this year that I'm looking forward to. But, you know, maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe we've all learned a thing or two, and it'll be a boring old election. Wouldn't that be nice? Whether your side or the other side wins, can't we just have a boring, uncontended election? Somehow we managed to do that all these years up until recently. Funny that. Anyway, guys, hope everyone has a good week as we get into the first full week of March. I would ask you, please do check out some of the backlog videos on this channel. I'd like to see them get a few more views. That'd be good. I'm going to do them either way. It's not like, oh, but, you know, I do put a lot of time and effort. It's nice to kind of, honestly, I've been seeing some of the shit that gets millions of views on YouTube, and it just makes me go, really? Really? Don't get me wrong. I don't make anything like the best videos on here. But some of the shit on here, I know I'm better than that. That's not putting the bar very high, but this is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time. Hi, Misha here, and long time. Blah, 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 blah.